rituals would happen at Blenheim Palace and Donington Castle.
What type of rituals?
Well, there's these sort of like the masked rituals, satanic ritual type things, where people would put the masks on, and then there would be like like Masonic or satanic kind of rituals going on, where they would have like the circle of people, and then you'd have people, women or children in the middle of the circle, performing sexual acts and everyone watching. There would be an altar where they would put a young child or young girl on the altar, and then there would be the sacrifice there.
Okay.
They'd have like a dagger thing or sword or whatever. And that's what I'm meaning by these kind of parties.
Do you want to go into that in more detail?
What
and I'd also like to ask, what do they eat at these parties?
They would eat the sacrifice victim. They would pull the heart out, the beating heart. They would eat that. They'd eat the animals they sacrificed as well. There was animals and stuff.
What do you mean by and stuff?
Animals and humans, children, babies, little babies and stuff, little babies.
Have you heard of the term cobble?
Coddle.
Cobble.
Cuddle.
Coble, I think it is.
Yes.
And what do you know about that?
Well, from what I know of cobble, is they would like... You mean like the cooking of it, or the taking of the...
Yes, exactly. What do you
know
about it?
The butchering. I call it butchering. Now, you could say, well, sacrifice. I say butcher. Yeah?
Yeah.
They would cut them up.
And what sort of things were they looking for?
Well, they would cut them up. What I mean is take the heart out, beating heart and everything. That was very a prized thing to do. Then they would then they'd start the bloodletting, if you like, meaning, cutting the wrists like you do, and so the blood would come out, pour out type of thing. They'd all have that, drink that and everything.
Is that with the heart still beating?
Yes. Well, they took the heart out with the heart beating.
Yeah. Like
a heart operation.
Yeah.
And then they would take the skin off. That's like flaying the body, flaying it.
But is it still sent alive?
Yes.
So the heart is still beating?
The heart's taken out.
But it's still beating?
Yes. But they'd be eating it, the heart, as it were. I mean, eventually it would stop, obviously.
So they're eating a living, beating heart.
Beating heart. And the liver, or organs, actually, I'm just not
raw.
Organs, yes. And of course, the brain and the...
And how was that performed? How was that?
Well, they'd like skin them alive, yeah, and then so take the heart out, the organs out, the heart out and everything. The brain, it would be more like, I would describe it more like a lobotomy type thing, where they slice maybe the top of the head off, the skull, to get into the brain. Yeah. Or go up through the throat area or the back of the neck, that way into the skull type of thing. Yeah. Probably a bit like the Egyptians did when they were doing the mummies and everything.
Except these were living.
They were living.
These were living people.
Children. Babies. Babies and things. Yeah, they were living, and they would be skinning them alive, and like I said, draining the blood and everything, doing that.
And were there any things done with the blood or anything? Or were these organs
They were
in particular?
drinking it.
Yeah.
Sorry, they were drinking the blood.
Yeah.
And the organ, well, eating it really, eating the organs, that type of thing.
Now, the people who were eating the organs, were they all human, or did they change shape?
Oh right, yeah, okay. What would happen is they would be doing all this stuff, and then there would be some kind of shape-shifting sort of going on. Yes, it wouldn't be like...
Explain that in detail.
It wouldn't be like they were human, and then it's like a hologram type thing, and that kind of image of a human being would kind of like disappear, and underneath would be like...
Can you describe how kind of like is? What would happen?
Well, it's like you're looking at the human, and then what you're seeing with your eyes is like a human being, like a normal human being, and then it's suddenly that face going away, and underneath is the... When I say underneath, it's like behind that is like a lizard type of
what I'm looking
being.
at is something where it's sort of like it shimmers.
Yes,
It
that's
sort
what
of shimmers
as
if bits of it sort of start.
You know, like a hologram.
Yeah.
Or Star Trek. You know when they used to come arrive on this flight deck from their clock things, that kind of effect, like a like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So they would like this kind of be like a wave going like this, and then you'd see the real being, and the human that you saw didn't exist anymore because it faded away. And underneath, behind that face, was this reptile thing.
Now, there's two ways. There's two ways of doing this. The creature or the reptile, it's physically different from the word go, but it just gives you it tells your mind that it's different, and then you have the ones which project as humans, but then there's two ways of doing it.
Well, they'd grow in height, so it's like...
Now, could you explain or the detail of what you saw in terms of the differences of these beings?
Well, they would... All right, first of all, I saw the lizard thing. First of all, it'd be lizard, reptilian type beings.
Are we talking a vertical crocodile thing with a big tail, or... what different characteristics? The facial things, the ridges on the skull,
Well, it'd be like. It would be like. Did you say crocodile? It's like
there's the croc look. Then there's the Draco difference. I'm trying to.
It would be like the crocodile, only more with this more stunted nose, snout. Okay, so you could say like a lizard. Because a crocodile's got a very long snout, so it's more squashed in than that. So it's like a vertical kind of crocodile.
Would they
creature.
have a tail?
Yes, because when they went through this shimmering, if you call it, the shimmering, when the human went away, then of course the being would be exposed. You'd see the whole thing, the tail. The hands, the feet, the legs, that type of thing. Yes.
Now, would they walk?
And the eyes.
When they walked, would they sort of walk like a shuffling butler, like a penguin, or would they walk with firm, long strides? As if you've got properly separated.
It wasn't quite human.
Yeah.
Like a human would walk. It was a bit like a... Well, I wouldn't say shuffling either. It's kind of, a bit more stomping, if you see what I mean. I would equate it to like, well, you see all these movies and everything, which are some are very real, very true. but it would be like more of a stamping type walk.
Now, when you say some movies, there's been Jupiter Rising, I think is one of the...
I've not seen that.
Right, okay, well...
I've
suggest the movies that you would say are real, and then suggest the movies which you would say aren't.
Well, you know, V, the old TV series, that's probably more real than we know. The new V is different to the original one. But I suppose both are very, very real.
Now, it's interesting that V is continually running on as a full series on the British Forces network that you can watch here. So if you watch the British Forces network, V is very likely to be on the air. And I was wondering maybe if there's a connection there with the military and the shape-shifting reptilians, and that's why they run that on the TV. It's just not a science fiction series. It's got another reason for being there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't know that the military played V.
Well, they play quite a lot of pretty good science fiction, some pretty good old movies and stuff. Sapphire and Steel, UFO, you know. These are Jerry Anderson sort of TV series, but they're also running some pretty advanced science fiction, and it seems that it would have some kind of introduction to the military for the purposes of getting as far as they can go on their TV network, climatizing
them to these beings type of thing. Yes, probably.
So again, which movies would be closest to reality, and which movies wouldn't be that you know
of? There's V. Just trying to think, sorry. It'll come to me, sorry. I'm just trying to think of all the TV things, because I've never seen that one you've mentioned.
Jupiter Rising has a lot of stuff about greys and stuff, and the hierarchy of things, and they milk the living life force out of us, and they live a very long time, and they're based on they've got a base on Jupiter, which is one of the things.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I'd say that you got the Dark Crystal, those puppets. Now, not the bad ones, not the good ones. The bad ones, which are called those Skeksis or something. You know, those creatures. They look very like them. Not the good ones, the ones with the big nose and everything. No. The other ones, the evil ones.
Such as the ones to kill so-called the Draco. There's a difference in reptile. There's a Draco reptilian and then the Draco collective, and you got reptilians who are meant to be okay now. They've been given some kind of autonomy as a species because they're out of the Draco collective mindset. Mm-hmm. Hive mind. Well,
those ones in the Dark Crystal, the puppets that were the bad ones. When I went to these, when I was at these rituals and stuff, when it all shimmered, if you like, they would change into those type things. That's the only thing I can liken it to. And the Dark Crystal, the evil ones, should we say, not the other ones, and they look very like that. Yes. So, like I know.
Have you seen the final series of the Star Trek thing? There's the new version. There's a version called Star Trek Enterprise, which was 2001 to 2005.
Yeah.
There's some pretty good renditions of. Have you seen any of that? Reptilians.
I haven't watched any of those. I watched the original Star Trek.
Yeah, Captain Kirk. Yeah, everybody's seen that.
Yeah, I watched that one. The other Star Treks, no, I didn't watch many of those. Actually, I got a bit bored of them, actually. Yeah. Sorry.
Deep Space Nine.
I like Battlestar Galactica.
Now, which version of Battlestar Galactica?
Well, I saw the first film.
Yeah.
I saw the films and stuff and things. But I didn't watch this TV series of Battlestar Galactica, no. The films, yes.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Star Wars?
No, Battlestar Galactica.
Okay. Now, you're talking about the
I saw Star Wars, sorry, of course.
Yeah.
And Star Trek. Star Wars, I'm trying to think on Star Wars and any sort of reptilian creatures on that. I mean, Star Wars is very probably very close to truth anyway.
In terms of demonic.
Well, yeah, you got.
Before we leave the parties, any other types of beings there?
Well, like I say, with
very tall ones.
Yes, with Star Wars. Sorry, you know the bar with all the aliens and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would see these reptilian things, and these things like the Dark Crystal. I think they're called Skeksis. Those evil ones. You see those, and then the Star Wars bar scene. You had there was an alien in that. I think it was a woman, female, and she was like, I think blue skin.
Yeah.
That one. There would be certain ones of that at this thing as well, and like that, or Avatar. You know, the movie Avatar.
Yeah.
Yes, there was some like that, blue, type creatures or alien. Right.
I mean, did they look more human? I mean, that might be quite.
Well, they look like the Avatar ones, really. I mean, they're kind of human.
In terms of the skin texture and stuff like that.
No, it was a bit more like the blue ones were a bit more. Skin texture was a bit more sort of scaly type skin. You know, like our skin. If you look close up to our skin, you can see it's not exactly scales, but you know, like that. But it was more like that kind of skin. You could say scaly or whatever. Our perception of it. And then in the Star Wars, the bar thing, you know, those.
That's the first Star Wars one.
Yes, sorry, yes. With Harrison Ford and.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one. Sorry, yeah, that bar scene. Not the. I haven't seen the other Star Wars or whatever, but that
we
one.
can only go by what you've seen.
New Hope.
What do you mean by the new V series? What is there a difference between the new V series? What's the difference there?
The modern V series, when they remade it, wasn't as it wasn't. The original one was very like what I had seen. You know, when they take the skin off, you know, the mice like this and everything. The new one, they got it quite off actually. Yeah. So
that's a big deal now.
Because the new one, the original one, was what I saw. You know, with the taking the skin off and everything. Yes, they did the shimmering, but then there was also the ones that would take the bodysuit off, if you see what I mean. Yeah.
Which is what I mean by the two different types, the sort of shimmering ones which project something which make you think that they're different.
Mm-hmm. And then you had the ones that just took the bodysuit off, you know, the human bodysuit.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
What about greys and aliens? And, and all that.
So there was like the blue. The
and I'm going to say tall whites. Did you?
And the tall whites, yes. And then you had the little grey aliens, yes.
Well, let's go into each version of these, and these are all present at these Eyes Wide Shut parties.
Yes. Where
they feast on humans and babies and children and things.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure about the greys, the little greys, if they did.
Do you have experience of those?
Oh yeah, they were there, and they came. They would come. There was one time they. I don't know. I was in my bed, and they came to my bedroom. And what I mean by that is, it was like they came to my bedroom, and I was younger. So I've had them visit me there. Yes, and. They were at this, the party thing. I could say party, but that ritual, they were there as well. But they weren't really. They were little though. They weren't like tall grey aliens and stuff. But maybe they were the offspring or something. Maybe they were the children. The ones I saw.
Did they have round eyes?
Yes, they had the black.
Did they have the round eyes or the almond eyes?
Black almonds, yeah. Like that, and then you had the, but they weren't. But the whites were very tall actually.
Now, when you say tall, and what do you mean by white?
Well, I'm 6 foot, and much taller than that. I mean, we're talking about my adoptive father, my real father. He's 7 foot.
And he's a normal human, is he?
No, because he shapeshifted into a lizard type.
Explain that.
Well, he shapeshifted. He shapeshifted
your
into a
real
lizard
father.
Thing. My real father, yeah.
I mean, you've heard of Simon Parkes.
Yes. Yes, I have.
And
I haven't listened to all his. I know about him now since last year, with what happened last year. You won't mention that. But, you know, I've heard...
What do you mean you won't mention that?
Sorry?
You didn't want to mention that?
The election last year.
You're referring to something in the United States?
Pardon?
You're talking about some kind of...
The thing in America, yes. But the Simon Parkes, I heard his stories before last year, before this came out, when he was talking about his alien experiences and stuff. Now, I haven't really seen the cat people alien ones. Like he mentions, I've seen more like the greys and the very tall white ones, and then the ones that are like very blonde hair, blue eyes. I saw those as well.
Okay, where did you see all these different types of beings?
Well, they were like some. Okay, we got the ritual party thing, and then at the tunnels that I was taken to, you had various beings down there, like the ones with the blonde hair and the blue eyes, very piercing blue eyes, and they were very tall, very, very tall, because I'm used to all these tall people around me, because like I say, the family I was adopted to, they were tall on the male side of the family, my father's side of the family, the men were very, very tall. And then so, you know, and then the women were tall, but the woman who adopted me, she was average height, 5'4". Yeah, but the other ones were all quite tall. We were loads of tall people there and everything. So then there was a connection to that part of the family with the Aldermaston giants, who have died off now. But there is a church in Aldworth, and there's a church there with the giants there. You can go and visit it and everything.
Are these like 3 meters high?
Well, they were considered giants in the day because they were tall. I mean, the family seems to have died off now, but the Aldworth giants kind of reached heights of probably about, for their time, very, very tall. So about 6 foot, maybe 7 foot, could even be taller. And you can go to the church and you can see them, you know, their crypts and stuff and stuff. And so the Aldworth giants, so this family I'm talking about, they were all very, very tall, and I do believe there is a connection to some kind of giant alien beings or something, maybe. Yeah, because the family name is connected to, well, Ireland. Okay, and I think Southern Ireland. My ex-husband's family were connected to Northern Ireland, and this side of the family, because the family name is Brazil. Well, they pronounce it Brazil like the country, but it's actually Brazil, and that's connected to Ireland, Southern Ireland. And my ex's family were Logue, and that's connected to Northern Ireland. So the family Brazil, I think, well, I believe is connected to High Brazil, the mythical island that comes and goes, disappears and everything.
That's about 300 miles off the southwest corner.
Yes, and that's where they come from.
Explain all that. Explain your connection with that.
Well, High Brazil, okay, the family name is Brazil, yeah. And that
How do you spell that?
Pardon?
How do you spell that?
Brazil. Brazil, okay. Like Brazil. Yeah. And that part of the family come from that part of Ireland. Did you say southwest?
It's southwest.
Southwest.
County
Ireland,
Kerry, Cork.
County Kerry, Cork, Ballycotton, Cork Cork, Ballycotton, that part of Ireland, yeah.
Skellig Michael?
Yes. Ballymaloe, Ballycotton, Ballymaloe,
And what's that's where Ryan's Daughter was all filmed.
Oh.
And also that area was used for the remake of Star Wars.
Yes.
When Disney got hold of it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So he was
Skellig Michael.
Mhm. They have a holiday home in that part of Ireland, and they used to holiday there and everything. And then there's a gypsy encampment camp near Aldermaston, and their surname is Brazil. There's a lot of Brazils in that part of Ireland anyway. I think
tell us all about High Brazil.
No, sorry. I think that because of the connection with the Brazil name in that part of Ireland, maybe those people came from High Brazil, or they
or still do come and go.
Still do. Sorry.
Maybe they still do.
Yeah, I think they do. And I think maybe the island is still around or something.
Well, what do you know about that? What does that? Do the family? Do they know about that? Because we're now going antediluvian. We're now talking about Atlantis.
Well, whenever
are we talking about Atlantis?
Well, whenever I go to Ireland, whenever I go near there, they would say, oh, one of the special people, the people there view that name as very special, magical. It's kind of very connected to the Tuatha De Danann, and I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry.
I'm a little bit like that myself. Explain on that, because James Caswell has a whole connection there as well. Do you want to go into all that? Ancient humanity, ancient times, before the Great Catastrophe.
Well, High Brazil, as far as I know, there was a war, and I can't remember the names of the two clans or something, but then you had the Tuatha De Danann, and the goddess, I think she was Tuatha De Danann, the goddess or something, came from High Brazil, or they fled to High Brazil or something. And there was this war. This is ancient history of Ireland and everything. And I think that the Tuatha De Danann come from the goddess. I think she was called Duanon. I can't pronounce it, I'm sorry. Duane. And she was the leader, the goddess, or something like that, or considered a goddess. But when I went to the place, the holiday home in Ireland, near Ballymaloe and Ballycotton, the people there would kind of, they knew my family, and then they would treat me very differently to, say, anyone else, because it was like, well, you're one of the magic people. That's what they call us, magic people. I don't know why. I was considered one of the magic people or something, but they were very, they respected them quite a lot, actually. Or maybe they were scared of them, I don't know. Because you've got the family in Aldermaston, there's a gypsy camp in Aldermaston. The surname there is Brazil, who used to work for the Brazil concrete factory as well. They had a lot of them working for them as well, sort of thing, but all connected to Ireland, Southern Ireland as well. Maybe the gypsies were useful, that part of the clan were useful to do the
No, exactly.
Trafficking.
What are you referring to there?
Sorry?
What do you refer to?
Human trafficking. Because you've got fun fairs and stuff, and human trafficking, manoeuvring people around, children around, or women around, that type of thing, because gypsies it's quite easy to then move from county to county, from Ireland to Britain, to even go to America, that type of thing. Although I don't think gypsies go from Ireland to America as gypsies as such, no. Even
what do you think? Well. What do you know?
Sorry?
What do you think and what do you know?
I know that they probably, I just know that they worked for Brazil Concrete, the concrete company. And then not only that, Brazil Concrete, not only did they own Brazil Concrete, they owned the Brazil sausages and the pork factory, pork pie factory, and they would make pork sausages and stuff like that. So they had pig farms and things. And then, so yeah, we had the pork. There was a pork. Pork
what are you
farms.
Suggesting by meat factory and pork?
Well, I think that it was very convenient to have a connection to cement and pork farms and stuff, because you can feed pigs anything.
So you're saying that you could get rid of the ritual...
You could dispose of the human meat with the pork, or you could feed the human remains to the pigs, because pigs would eat that.
Or just put the human remains straight into sausages.
Or sausages, yeah. Pork pies, sausages.
Sweeney Todd?
Yes. So there is a pie shop in Reading called Sweeney Todd. And so they would...
Now, let's be very careful here. I mean, what are you suggesting here?
Well,
we're dealing with livelihood here and all that. I mean,
I know. I'm not saying that they have human stuff there, but I just know that they would like to perhaps use that particular pie shop. It was very popular for them, but it is a running business right now, so I'm very loath to put any blacking on it.
Very serious. Now, you've said Reading, and also I'm getting a little message in my head. Peasmore, Barry King's data on Peasmore. You mentioned Peasmore and Casbolt. What's the whole deal there? What do you know about that?
What, Peasmore?
Yeah.
Well, they did contracts in Peasmore.
Who?
The company, they would do the concrete going to Peasmore and stuff. They did a lot there. What
do you mean by a lot?
They'd supply a lot of concrete to that area, to Peasmore. I was taken to, there's a base there. I mean, it's a military base.
Let's be very clear about this. I've done videos with Barry King and James Casbolt about Peasmore, and the grid keeper and Duncan Davis and James Casbolt and Suhail all went up there in 2007 and found the base. And a TR-3B came down and wiggled around and said, "Hi, guys." Now, they also said that we've got taken to the base and have a similar screen memory to Matt Todd, who was exposed to things in certain bases. But what do you know about Peasmore?
Well, I was taken, there's a base there, and we go into the base. And,
where?
At Peasmore.
Just a little bit, where do you go in?
Well, it was like there's fencing around and everything, like a usual base thing, and go through the gates and stuff, and then
are you talking RAF Welford or Newbury?
Newbury, sorry.
Sorry.
Newbury.
Greenham Common.
Yeah, near Greenham Common, yeah. Near where the women used to protest. Because they used to laugh at those women. The group would laugh at them.
Why would they laugh at them?
Because they thought they were nutters. They didn't agree with what they were doing. The women, the protesters at Greenham Common, they said they were just hippies and didn't respect them at all. There
has been talk about them being used in mind control experiments. They were doing microwave thing on them. And I mean, is that true?
Well, all I know is they'd laugh at them, and they would say they would just
the soldiers. Who would laugh at them?
My family. My father's. One's among the two men. They would laugh at them, and actually everyone in the village would laugh at these Greenham Common women. I never understood that because I thought I agreed with with the protesters actually.
Of Greenham Common.
Greenham Common, yeah.
And then what happened? You went into a tunnel. You were taken there by.
Well, taken to the base, and then
What do you mean by the base?
It was like a army base, Air Force army base. I know the two don't go together, but there were jets there, and there were soldiers there, and so you had like a combination of the two. You had like.
So that's Greenham Common.
Greenham Common, Peasemore, yeah. I know the army and the Air Force don't really mix as such, but we're talking like Air Force base and army base combined.
Right. If I said RAF Welford.
Yeah. Because our Newbury one, yes, I know about we went to the Newbury one. Welford, yes, I know about that as well.
What do you know about Welford?
Well, we go to the thing is you had tunnels. I'd be going to Welford. I'd be taken to Welford, and the Newbury base as well. And again, like I say, it was not. You go through this sort of gates and things, but it was Army and Air Force combined, the two together. And I don't know how that can happen because they don't usually combine the two, the Army and the Air Force.
Were there any special differences in the uniform, any logos or signature?
Well, the uniforms were, you could tell it was Army or Air Force because the Army side, I say side because it'd be one side would be Army and one side would be Air Force. So there was a divide between the two, but they would mix.
Is that, because of logistics, like canteens or weapon storage or what?
No, because they shared it all. Yeah, they shared everything. It was all shared, if you see what I mean. So
what
the Air
was
Force,
shared?
Well, the Air Force people would, they'd have access to the army side for the weaponry and stuff, for ammunition and things. Not that they use much of that, but they would combine the two. You know, the vehicles and stuff.
We're just talking about practical things like rifles and.
Yeah, rifles, ammunition, that type of thing. Uniform. Well, it looked like some of them had like a black uniform. You had the army uniform, usual regular British Army uniform, and then you had the usual British regular Air Force uniform, and then you had because there were Americans there too, so you had the American base was combined as well. So you had the American Army and the American Air Force and the British Air Force and the British Army all combined together.
And where did this happen?
Well, it seemed to be like a base in Newbury, and there's some, and the other one was there's Newbury and Welford, yes, but it wasn't like, because you had the army base over here, and then we would drive around, and then you go to what I call the combination of all of it in one thing. You know, the Americans and the British and everything, and probably other countries as well, probably. But there was some that were wearing black, a bit like the German uniform when they had the black. Was that the SS or something? Or I have no idea about uniforms.
Are you suggesting? I'm suggesting. Were they actually German uniforms to this day? Fourth Reich, so to speak.
Well, I know those uniforms. It looked very like that. Like the old, is that the Fourth Reich? Because
well, the
Third
World War
Reich,
II,
sorry.
Third Reich, yeah.
Yeah, they were like that, like the German black uniforms.
SS.
The SS, thank you. Yes, SS. Yeah. Yeah, the SS uniform.
And when was this? Because obviously
Greenham
Common has been closed for quite some time. It's now being used for Star Wars movies as a set. So they've also taken up a lot of the concrete and stuff like that. Talked about concrete. So what era are we talking about?
late 70s, 80s. Yeah. Well, Brazil Concrete was sold off in late 80s. So that kind of, that stopped, connected with that family. They weren't supplying concrete anymore, because in 1982, I think, it was sold for quite a few million. It got sold to Wimpy, I think. I think Wimpy bought it.
Or Wiltshire Concrete's quite a big company.
Yeah, I don't know if Wiltshire Concrete had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I just know Brazil Concrete got sold off, I think, to Wimpy. Yes, Wimpy and Ready Mix, I think, or some company. I'm sure it was Wimpy actually that bought it.
So what do you know of the different personnel, and what about the Peasmore thing? You mentioned something about Peasmore and human trafficking and tunnels and all that, the underground tunnel network.
Well, so we had there's this combined base. I'm going to call it a combined base because, like I said, there was Air Force, Army. I'm not going to say Navy because I don't think, well, obviously it wasn't anywhere near the ocean, so, but it was just the uniforms, the black uniforms, and then you had different level.
Was there any inverted triangle type symbols you saw anywhere?
Well, those like chevrons. I don't know if you call it a chevron.
The way that the sergeant logo.
Yes. You got on the lapel thing, this yellow thing going down like a V thing going down here. I don't know what that's called. Sorry, but when you got on the lapel, the shoulder thing, and it's like a yellow V thing like this. Is it chevrons that go down like that? Yeah, like that. And then the badge, if you call it a badge, on the uniform, and it was like very like the German uniforms back in the war, but maybe more like the SS kind of uniform. But with the German thing, it wasn't a swastika as such, but it was like an eagle, more like Russian, but you've got the two-headed eagle looking either way, yeah, and then the thing behind it, like a stripy thing behind it. It was a two-headed eagle type thing looking either way sort of thing. The only thing I can equate that to was like Romania, I think, had that on their flag, or
the ancient. Well, we could look that up. Maybe ancient Austro-Hungarian Empire
or Hungarian.
Austro-Hungarian Empire.
I don't know if it was Romanian before the leader got rid of that one, or even Poland. But of course that would mix up. That would go with. But it's more German.
Who did you feel was in charge?
Well, it's like you had the different people. Sort of, you got the like what you call it, the sergeant and the captain and all of that.
Majors and generals and
stuff. Yeah. But there was like the humans of this combined base thing, yeah. But then there were other humans, the tall ones that would be there kind of shouting orders or doing commands to the human beings, So these ones were more like... So
who are the tall ones, and was this all underground?
Yes.
And did it have a name? There were any name anywhere? Not
that I can remember, no.
Any things on corridor walls or train?
Well...
How did you move about?
There was a train system. I apologise. There was like the underground. The London Underground's very clunky, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's got more high speed now, but it was very clunky, wasn't it, sort of thing. And then you've got the high speed trains now, we have now, like that, underground. So, you know how we have these electric trains now that are quite fast? Well, a bit faster, you know, very fast little trains underground, yes.
And when you mean by fast, how far would they go? I mean, where would you... there must have been some kind of ID. I mean, AL499, that's going to be... That's going to be what...
AL4...
AL499, I think, is what is referred to as Peasmore. So that would be the base number. Any numbers like that?
It was more like...
I mean, you've got to know when you're going to stop or where you're going to go.
Roman numerals, yeah. And like dashes, like there'd be Roman numerals and then there'd be dashes. So you'd be like, you'd have like, it was, how can I describe it? It's like dashes like that. 1, 2, 3.
Forward slash backslash.
Yes, thank you, yes. There's the dashes and stuff like that, yes. And not so much numbers. It would be more like Roman numerals.
So the numbers would be in Roman.
Yeah.
Numbers.
And then you've got the dashes, the forward slash, backslash type thing. You know, like the modern V or some kind of science fiction program or film, I think it is. And they've got all the... No, Taken. That TV series that Steven Spielberg, and I think it's called Taken. Was it Steven Spielberg did that one as well?
Yeah.
And that Taken, they had that coding and stuff, those things. It was like that, like on Taken, that kind of writing and things. So I don't think that on Taken that was kind of come out of someone's imagination.
So where did you go? What did you see? Who did you talk to? And what did you do?
Well, it was like you go down to the tunnels and stuff.
Again, what do you mean by stuff?
Sorry, it's probably a habit of mine. Go down to the tunnels, and there would be these. Yeah, there are high-speed trains. You could call it a train, like a bullet, like the bullet train in Japan. Yeah, like that or something. And then it would be like, go down there, and so it'd be different levels and stuff. So we went down to a certain level, and then go into this room, if you could call it a room, and there'd be like very very futuristic, but along the wall, around the walls and stuff, there was like what can I call it? Like a cubicle. It's like Independence Day, the film, the modern film, where they had all these like cubicles full of water, if you could call it water, and things in that. So beings in that kind of water stuff.
And what did they look like those things?
Like you have in the museums. You know, and they put the parts in kind of, what's it called, to keep it, you know, look after it, sort of thing.
Oh, ether, well, it's
yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
And then they'd have to be in there. Various beings would be in these kind of like cubicle type things. I call it a cubicle.
Tubes. I mean, are they alive, or are they just in stasis in some?
Just
for shipping, or
there.
Well, they plugged into something.
It seemed to be plugged into something, yeah, like a tube coming from them, from the mouth. What you call it, a mouth.
And how big were they? How tall were they? What did they look like?
They were quite big, but bear in mind I was quite. They were quite big.
So you were being shown this by your father?
Well, yeah.
What do you mean well? What do you mean well?
My adoptive father.
In other words, your so-called human one.
Yeah. I wouldn't say he was human either, by the way. No.
What would you say he was?
No, he wasn't. He was a demon. More like a demon.
So what's a demon and what's a reptilian, or what's the difference?
I wouldn't say the reptilians are the demons. I would say he was more like a demon, a demon like you get the gargoyles of Notre Dame. There's gargoyles on there, which he looked like. Not a lizard, more like a demon, a demon type creature type thing.
I mean, have you seen a Draco?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what they would look like. I may have seen one.
How big were they? How big are they? Were they big and beefy and strong, or?
Yeah, quite muscular, quite muscular and everything, well built type thing. Yeah.
And you were friendly with this being? Did it talk to you in English? I mean, how did you sort of pass the time of day when you're in these tunnels with them?
It wasn't talking. It was more like thoughts, telepathy.
So what's the purpose of him? What's your purpose now in talking about this? I mean, you're giving a lot of information.
Because
have you been given some kind of mission to tell people about this?
Because
we're referring now to May 2021.
Because I tried to have something. I tried to say something about the abuse and stuff 20-something years ago. But I had to shut up. I had to, because my children were threatened. So I had to.
Who threatened them?
The police and social services, and
some people call the social services the SS. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I'd say the SS probably run the social services, actually. Yes. So they threatened. Sorry.
Just mind your mic. Yeah.
They threatened to take my children away. So I went quiet. I didn't want to say anything else about any of this, because of my children. Now my children are grown up now. It doesn't matter because they're safe now. And my eldest daughter wants me to speak out. And also, I believe there are still children and humans being trafficked, still in the tunnels, still being sacrificed, and it needs to come out. And what if I know something that the good guys don't know? What if I know something and I haven't said anything? And what if these bad people get sorted out, but then they know about the secret stuff that I know about that they don't know about? I want it to stop. I want them to stop doing what they're doing, the trafficking and the eating of humans and stuff.
I was just interested, a particular dish which seems to be served at these things is a bit like a big stuffed turkey on its knees.
What, a human, you mean? Like a...
Yeah.
Yeah, like... well, that's kind of what it is, yes. It'd be like a...
It's...
If you have, like... Well, they'd eat goat, by the way. Goat. And they'd put that on a platter with the goat's head. They'd keep the head and everything very nicely. And then you'd have it would look like... What you said, like a pig. But it'd be a human... You know how you have hog roast, yeah?
Yeah.
And you stick the whole pig on the hog roast and everything?
Yeah.
Well, they'd do that, but it would be human, like a hog roast. Well, you have the platter, yes, and there would be like I could say human on the platter, yeah.
Roasted, yeah.
Yeah, because I could have a hog roast, a spit going round and round and everything, and then they'd have they would cook... that on the platter, yes. So you could, or a piglet, you'd have a piglet. Well, on the platter it would be like that, but it'd be human.
And you'd have the head separate for you to do whatever. Is that right?
The head would still be attached.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And then they'd serve it like that. Yeah.
And who would do the serving?
Well, the women were revered, so they were above the men. the men were like their slaves. The men were quite happy about that. They would also like, men would be very subservient to the women. The women were very revered and everything. And the men would be, treated like dogs. Like, you imagine like a banquet in the medieval times. We'd have all the king and the queen at the end of the table and everything. And then you have the dogs of the castle, come in and eat all the things that have been thrown down. Well, it would be like that, like a banquet like that, only the men, if they, depending on their level of what superiority or something, if they were lower superiority, they would be chained up like a dog, with a chain around their neck, and they would act like a dog, naked, on the ground, picking up the bits off the floor. Yeah. And
how would they establish themselves as some kind of higher level? How would they be classified, or how would they become? And would there be other beings there with them?
Well, the man who adopted me was one of the dogs. He was like that, and he was never going to get any higher. Now his brother, the elder brother, who inherited the concrete factory and the concrete factory and things. It's a concrete factory and the pork factory. I think he was a very high degree mason as well. And he had a lot of money and everything. He was also master builder as well, and an MP. Or he was trying to become an MP. You see, I don't know if he got voted in. But I think he was a councillor as well. Now, why is he higher up than the dog man? I don't know. I don't know how he got that high up, other than the fact that it was perhaps he was the eldest child in the family, maybe. But I don't quite know how they got to the high levels at all.
And the human males were obviously very low level.
Well, some human males were high up, but they were lower than the women.
Yeah. So what are you saying, like in the film V, the women were actually reptilians?
Well, the men were as well. So it was almost like, you see, my paternal father, he was the shape-shifting lizard man. I call him the lizard king, right? Now, the dog man, he was more the demon type thing. So perhaps the more lizard reptilian they were, the higher up they were. Yeah, so I would say that's probably how it's decided on how high up they go on the spectrum. And then the women, they were reptilian as well, yeah. But the women were higher up than the men. They were the ones that were higher than the men.
And what about the status of these other tall whites, and were there Pleiadians there, the so-called blondes, or who else was there?
The blondes were there. I don't know if they were Pleiadians, but they were there, yes. But it seemed that the reptile type ones were higher up. They were more aggressive.
I mean, when you say that they were blondes and they were human as well, what else? The blondes, alien? Would it be alien blondes, or another race? Or any?
Well, I've seen. It's like they were blondes. They were what I would say was like a normal Viking type look. Yeah, so the blonde Viking, what we see as Vikings, yeah, they look like them. Only, very tall. I don't know how tall the Vikings were, but very tall. So Nordic, yes, Nordic.
And then you had different ones, tall whites, were they?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now,
how did they communicate? How did they all talk? What was it like there?
There's no talking. No talking. It's like the thing is, there's no talking, but it was almost like in the mind. But you see, the noise was in the mind, if you see what I mean. So it's like going out into a street and you hear loads of people talking and stuff, only it would be in the mind. So in the room, you wouldn't hear any noise like that. It'd be in the head. So it's all telepathic. Yeah. So that's that kind of thing, yeah.
Well, we're sort of coming up to an hour and almost 2 hours.
Okay.
Do you want to take a bit of a rest?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. We'll take a little bit of a rest on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very serious, the sort of stuff you've been saying, and we want to get as much of that out as possible. That's what you want to have. So we'll... well, that's it for Basis 1. I don't know what part it's going to be, but we're going to have a break now.